taxes change over the years? Cause I know now it's like $9 a dollar. No, it's 9 cents on a dollar for tax. So how did it change throughout the years?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And this is why I love talking to you all about money. Taxes play a very important role in our financial journey. And this is why in class you may hear why it's important to vote. So, voting really helps you know how your money is going to flow. It's part of actually part. We could get into a lot of stories about that. And so taxes do change. Taxes do change, and so this is why it's important that we got to have a budget. And this is why whenever people say save your money for an emergency, emergencies are definitely going to come up. Now, if something changes in taxes in which it turns into an emergency for you, then we got to think about how much money you're saving. But yes, taxes change. Let's talk about this term really quick. Have y'all heard about this word called inflation?
Yes. I don't know what it is, but
I
I
know what
heard.
it is.
Well, a lot of people say it around me.
Yeah. So, inflation. Let's think about this. Do you go to like Wendy's, McDonald's, the dollar menu?
Yes,
Mhm.
sir.
Okay. So, what do you usually get that's on the dollar menu?
Chicken nuggets.
Okay, nuggets. What now? You getting a 10 piece? 10 pieces is on the dollar menu. How many pieces we get?
6 piece.
Yeah, I said okay,
6.
okay. Now, has there been something on the dollar menu that you got probably last year or the year before that's no longer on the dollar menu?
Yes.
Like what?
It was like a hamburger, I believe, at McDonald's. It was
Mm-hmm.
a hamburger,
Yep.
but they took it off.
Yeah, it's a little bit more expensive now, right?
Yes.
So the same thing that you were eating now has a different price. Nothing changed, right? It doesn't come with wheels, doesn't come with a toothbrush. It's the same sandwich. That's a representation of inflation. Inflation ultimately means that the cost in the goods or the services that you're receiving is increasing in price. So there's times in which I may go get something to eat and I may have paid $7, and now I walk in, get that same meal, and now I'm paying $9. Wait a minute. What just happened? And so that's why it's important to understand these different terms, and inflation is one of them because it is eating into that value of that dollar, right? It's eating into the value of your money. So it's a really good question.
I have a side question.
Let's do it.
So, did we already talk about like why do they take the tax? Well, tax us. Do we already
I
talk
don't
about
think so. So what do you think the government does with the money? So whenever they take taxes out, what do you think they do?
I think they like use it the like for construction workers so they can build buildings and fix buildings and stuff like that, and they pay like people that work for the government and stuff like that.
That's an excellent answer. That's an excellent answer. Y'all want to add to that?
I want to.
Yes.
Well, my mom told me about like the Republicans and like the Democrats, and like she was telling me how like people that pay taxes are like I think Republicans because they don't want like to have to pay their money to give to other people. Cause like Democrats believe in like food stamps and things like that.
Oh man, y'all need to run for office. This is a really good response. Do you want to add to it on what you think? And that's really good. I'm more grateful that you and mom are having these types of conversations at home. So shout out to mom on that.
Well, at first, I really did think that like they use taxes like for the government to like tip the other people and stuff. Like for instance, like at Family Dollar, I bought me. He remember I bought them big bag of Skittles and brought them to school, and so I thought and then I got taxed. It was about I don't know. I spent like $20 or something.
It did not cost $20.
No, I had a drink and a lot of stuff.
Oh,
So it cost like $20-ish,
Uh-huh.
and well, I'm just gonna make up some sense to like make it make sense a little bit.
like 27 cents, let's say.
Okay.
I thought they took that tax and then they gave it to the people for like a tip. That's what I thought.
Wow, this is good. And you know what is interesting is that you are all correct. So there is city taxes, there's county taxes, there's sales taxes, right? Like whenever you buy something, there's a sales tax. There's all these different types of taxes. So to your first question, taxes ultimately pay for government resources. So just as you mentioned, anyone that may work for the government, that is how they get paid. Well, who are some examples? Firefighters, police officers, right? So these just very quick examples, even different hospitals, right, in which you walk into. There's a lot of support that is provided by the government in which taxes are provided, just as you mentioned, even all the way down to food stamps, to paving the roads, right? Like, all right, we got someone out here paving the roads. That's why there's times in which people will see the mayor and be like, hey, mayor, I got this pothole on my street, man. I need y'all to do something about that, right? So you can go to government representatives to see if that is in the budget, right? Going back into the budget, right? Let's make sure that they have that as a priority. Also, when you think about the flow of money, there are, to Malaysia's point, different parties in which they're reflected as either Democrat or Republican, and there's others, Libertarian, that have different, we'll just say, thinkings or examples or solutions when it pertains to how they think the country should be ran. There's one side that feels like there should be less government involved, and so they don't want as much taxes, as much of their money going towards taxes. Now, I don't like taxes either. Hey, get your hand out my pocket. That's my money. Just like you said earlier, I earned that. Hey, we got a problem. And especially if you're not, effective with it. But there's also people that need help, right? There's folks that need support. There is actually a role in which the government did play in probably providing some of those issues. They did. So there is a number of ways in which the government, in which taxes benefit us. But also when you know that the taxes come out of your pocket, then you're going to be very interested on like, all right, well, I want to have a say so on how these resources and these benefits are provided. So really good question. Great question.
I got another side question. So I got a question. So like basically, why don't they show the actual price instead of just saying like the price without the taxes? Why don't they just say this is exactly what it costs plus tax?
And there's different, and we like to call those receipts, right? So whenever you look at the receipt, I want to be able to see the breakdown of my money. Just like if you go to a restaurant, it's all right, I want to get this, I want to get that. And if they just come back with how much like the full amount, and there's no breakdown, like, hold on. I said 2 Sprites, you got 3 here, right? I want to see what the specific number is. Usually there is some type of breakdown in regards of like how taxes are being spent, because they have to share that information. Is it accurate? I'm not too, it's not. That's the one thing about numbers. Hopefully they don't have an eraser over there and they're writing in pen. But the question you're asking, I think, is a really good question in a way to live life, which is to be transparent, right? You want to make sure that in any form of fashion, especially if you got anything to do with money, get as many details as possible. Anyone that works with our company, we got close to about 11 to 12 employees. Anytime I am paying for their work, they have to be very detailed exactly on what they got done for us, because that is money going out and we got to know where it's going. And so it sounds like there is somebody's going to be running for office one day. So we're going to remember this interview.
Okay, so if you could go back and give one piece of money advice to your middle school self, what would it be?
get a bank account, I was working. Like, I was working early, y'all. I got a confession. I lied on the application at Burger King and said I was 14. I was really 13. I lied. I said 88. It was 89. Yeah.
So you could so like whatever year you was born in, you could have worked at 13 or like.
No, I couldn't have. No, only at 14. And then and so they have this thing called child labor laws where there is rules based off of how old you are on how long you can work, what you can do. So in Florida, where I grew up, I worked at Burger King when I was 14 years old, and I was pretty much a manager at 15. Like, it was definitely a way of life. So if there's anything that I would recommend, just even at that time, I didn't have a bank account, and I didn't know about including my parents in establishing a bank account, because if I would have a bank account, I would have been able to start saving some money in a better way.
So I got a side question. In your opinion, what is the quickest way to make money?
Ooh, the quickest way to make money. I'm gonna give two responses. I'm gonna give the best way to make money, and then I'm gonna give the quickest way to make money, and then I'm gonna give the best way to make money. The quickest way to make money.
Excuse me for this brief announcement. We have a DoorDash up front. We have a DoorDash order up front.
I would say the quickest way to make money is to do something someone else told you to do. Just that simple. Hey, go cut the grass. All right, cool, $20. Hey, babysit. All right, cool, I can do that. The best way to make money is to find a problem in life and build a solution, and then people pay you for that solution. Then that's gonna outlive you. It'll be quick, it'll be slow, but it's yours. And it's tied to something that you're gonna want to do for the rest of your life.
So I got a side question. This kind of is like a question from question before
Okay.
I ask my question. So basically, like, if say like somebody like if they tried to make they like, okay, so say like somebody tried to like go like no. Okay, yeah. So say like somebody tried to go and like tell the government that's I don't want 9 cents on the dollar for taxes. If they like say if they want like $1, 1 cent on the dollar for taxes, like what would the financial part be of that?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So let's say you don't agree with how much you're being taxed, and you say, all right, you charging me 9 cents on a dollar. I want it to be 1 penny of the dollar. Before a change like that can be accepted, there is a process it has to go through. So it's kind of like, and do you play sports? Y'all play football, right?
I play baseball and football.
Baseball and football. So think about what would need to happen if you said, hey, coach, I don't want a second base anymore. I just want first and third base. Take the second base out. Do you think that would be an easy change?
No, because you would have to agree with every single team and with the people that own like sports and stuff like that. You would have to agree with them. You would have to make an agreement with them, and if they don't agree, you just can't do it.
Boom. That's exactly right. So you have to get enough people to agree that the taxes need to go to 1 cent. And then this is the next part that's going to be, this is where you make your money. And this is why. Pretty much saying, hey, government, I want you to receive less money. Imagine going to a company and saying, hey, you're making too much money. I want you to make less. And walk away. I'm like, what? I got employees to pay. And so, but the why is going to dictate. But that's an excellent question. So, but the biggest thing is that you got to get people to agree. And that's the beauty of politics and taxes, is that, if you got a message that is necessary, that can help people, like lowering taxes. You get enough people to agree, it could actually happen.
So Mr. Cooper, I have 2 additional questions. What's one of your financial habits you wish you started at our age? And can Cash App be a good bank to save, to invest in and save, like use money to save?
That's a good 2 great questions. So I think, I'm gonna double down on the savings because I'm telling you, I made some good money when I was young. Like I was making some really good money. I had multiple jobs. And I was playing sports too. I remember going into the 9th grade, leaving football practice, like putting on my Burger King clothes and walking to work and I was making some good money. But also I was paying for my own cell phone. I was paying for my own bill. Like I was paying for my own things at that particular time. So I wasn't saving much. So I wished I saved more money. Now to your second question in regards to Cash App. So we all are aware that there's a lot of crime that does happen on Cash App as well. Like people get scammed, like we've seen that.
Yes, sir.
But also that happens with cash too, right? Like there's crime and criminal behavior that happens with every form of money. Can you give me some examples of a bank?
Wells Fargo,
Wells Fargo, PNC,
USAA.
okay, yep. Okay, let's keep going.
U.S. agencies, I think. No.
Well, I think y'all in the same, like a Navy Federal Credit Union or something like that. Regions Bank, all right? So those are banks. What Cash App is, Cash App connects to banks to transfer money to people that is a representative of the bank, right? So that's just like, someone playing for the Cowboys and someone playing for the Lions. You can still send things to each other. You just got to connect the bank in which you work at. One of the unique things about Cash App versus a lot of these other platforms like Venmo or Zelle is that whenever your money is on Cash App's platform to where you can see, all right, I got $12, $20, it's actually connected to a bank. And it's called Sutton Bank, Sutton Bank, right? Sutton Bank. Now, have you seen a Cash App building before? Have you been driving oh, yo, hey, that's where Cash App is.
No, sir.
Yeah, me neither. And if you found one, let me know. Also Sutton Bank, and that's not a bank that we just talked about. So knowing that there isn't a bank that you can call, like if you ever had an issue on Cash App, who do you call? Right. So whenever you want to save money and invest money, you want to make sure it's somewhere in which you can speak to someone very quickly. And it's also with a bank or what the grown-ups like to call financial institutions. It's somewhere in which has a reputation. How would you define reputation?
Like the status you make of yourself and how people see you.
Absolutely. So you want to make sure the bank has a good reputation because that's your money. So if you're like, hey, if someone does not have a good reputation with managing money, I don't want them holding mine.
I would never trust them.
Exactly. So we always got to do our research. So that's an excellent question. Excellent. I love these side questions.
I got a few more side questions. One of my side questions is okay. So like with debit and credit, right? How do they collage with each other? And my next question is, so say like the bank my mama going through this now. Like the bank they said she owe like $1,100 on her condo when her condo owned like $700. Like how basically where's the process of them doing that? Cause she only late on her condo like by 3 or 2 days.
Right.
So like how do that yeah.
This is good. This is really good. All right. So we're gonna get into the car note last. Remind me the first question.
How do credit and debit?
Debit and credit. Yep. Perfect. So the debit and credit, and there's 2 ways. So I'm gonna check off the way if there's people that are accountants listening. So debit and credit is a way to see if money is going in or if money is going out, right? So debit means money going out, credit is money going in. So that's an accounting definition. So I'm just gonna move that out the way. Now, the way in which you and I are about to talk about is debit cards and credit cards, right? So with the debit card, like this one here, this is a debit card. So this card is a debit card, and this card is a credit card. Only difference between the two is the numbers, the colors, right, and the little strip on the back. But it's still a plastic piece of equipment, right, to where money is located. Now, with a debit card, in order for it to have money on it, you got to put money on it, right? So you got to put $5 in, or $10 in, $1,000 in, $1 million in. In order for money in order for you to use that card, you got to have money in the account, and you got to put the money there. Now, with the credit card, so credit, there's a term that I want you to remember. Whenever you are using someone else's money, what word comes to mind? Do you need to what them?
Pay them back.
Yeah, you got to pay them back, but it starts with a T. Second letters are R.
Transfer.
Third letters are U.
Trusting.
You need to trust them, right? So credit, whenever you use a credit card, you're using someone else's money. So if I need to use your money, you're going to want to make sure I have a good reputation, just as you mentioned. So if I got a good reputation, that means that I can trust you or not, or you can trust me. So the way in which they figure out how much money that you can have access to is very similar to how school is, to where you get grades. All right, did I do well? I got a B. If I did very well, I get an A. So with credit, it's called a credit score. So it's a number. So the higher the number, the better. So the higher the number means, oh, you can really trust this person, right? So with debit and credit, and again, we're just going to speak about a debit card and a credit card. Credit card is a representation on how much someone trusts you using their money. And that number is going to be based off of your credit score and then how much money you make in regards to income. Because whenever you use someone else's money, y'all said it as soon as I asked what the T word means, you got to pay it back, right? And so that information lets them know that you'll be able to pay them back. So debit and credit. Now with car notes. So knowing that you have to, so just as we talked about with paying other people back, sometimes if you don't pay them back on time, they can say, all right, we got a penalty. All right, there's a fine to this. And so unfortunately, let's say, something happens, there's an issue with, getting paid on time and you're not able to make the payment. Whoever you are buying the car from, they have different rules in which they can say, all right, I know you usually pay X amount, $700 a month, but this time it's going to be $850 this month because it's late. And if it's 10 minutes late, we're going to charge that amount. So that's why it's always good if you pay for something, or if you need something, it's good to be able to own it. Now, if you don't own it, you just got to be mindful of the rules of the person that does own it and just, abide by those rules.
Even though this near impossible, what if a bank run out of money and you got money in your account? Like, what if the bank run out of money? Then what happens to your money?
This is excellent questions. It's actually very possible, and it almost happened recently. And it's called a bank run. So a bank run ultimately speaks to exactly that, what you just said. What if more people are asking for the money? Like if say, all right, I want to go to the bank and I want to pull all my money out. What if everybody at the bank that has an account there did that at the same time? They're going to run out of money. And so it's called a bank run. Now, there is these letters that go together. It's called a FDIC. So FDIC stands for, and these are, not for you to remember, just remember these letters, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. So FDIC says, if something were to happen at this bank, and let's say they run out of money, we will protect your account up to $250,000. So if you have $232,000 and the bank runs out of money, the government says, we got you. So going back to what taxes pay for. So that is a benefit through the government, right, that allows you to be able to say, if this bank runs out of money, my account, or which you can have more than one account that can be protected to up to $250,000. So you have up to $250,000 to be able to protect. So there is a way to protect you through the FDIC, but it is possible. It is possible. It is possible. Great question. I'm loving this.
So I have an additional thing to what Rylan said. I recently learned about like the Great Depression, and like the stock market crash, and like if they were to still have a stock market now, would it be possible for like them to find ways for it not to crash? Like, would they have enough money for like a bank like not to run out of money?
That's such a these are bless you. These are such good questions. So just as you mentioned, back in the day, the Great Depression, because these are good. Y'all pulling it out. When you think about money and you think about a community, so we are in a community now in which, where's the nearest grocery store?
My nearest grocery store is like, it's basically Forestdale.
Okay.
My grocery store is basically in my neighborhood, really.
Okay.
My nearest grocery store is in Pratt.
In Pratt. Okay. So if that grocery store shuts down, where do you go?
Well,
The next nearest one?
The nearest one. Now that may be in another town. You may have to go to downtown Birmingham. You may have to go to Hueytown. You may have to, we don't know where it is, but that dollar that you would usually spend in that neighborhood now is going somewhere else. Now follow me on this. So when people don't have money, are they usually spending it on the things that they do when they do have money? So if you don't have as much money as you usually do, are you going to keep spending it the same way you did?
No.
So if you had $10 a day and you got $5 tomorrow, you going to spend the same money? You going to spend it as if you had 10?
No.
Okay. So when there is less money, when people have less money, because one of the things that happened during the Great Depression is that folks didn't have jobs. Folks weren't working. So if you're not working, you don't have money, where are you going to spend money? So if you're not spending money, guess what? The people at those jobs don't have money to pay their employees. So if they can't pay their employees, so you see how when money stops, it impacts all the things that ultimately that could have value, and that leads to the value of companies on the stock market, right? And so there were different companies that actually did all right, during that time frame. But one thing about history, and you'll hear this as you grow up, is that history repeats itself. That actually happened again. I don't want to get too deep into what caused the 2008 crisis. That was similar to, Great Depression type numbers in regards of economics. But unfortunately, there's a lot of greedy people in this world. And when greedy people make decisions that, that's not in the best interest of, we'll just say the community, everyone suffers. And that was actually a major part of what happened in the 2008 crisis. So it's probably going to happen again. But the more you know about money, what we're talking about now, when you really understand investing, that's actually the best opportunity to invest.
So, Mr. Cooper, before we wrap it all up, do you have any additional questions for us?
The question I have for you all is, tell me one or two things you learned today that you will be able to go back home and talk to your parents about.
That the government puts money into people that they work for and stuff like that.
Okay, all right.
Learn the difference between gross and net income.
Okay, difference between gross and net income.
He just took my first one.
And you took it again. Look, all right, you got to dig deep now.
Well, I guess some advice that that I'll tell my parents when I get home is that that's great. Well, it is actually possible for I personally never thought banks can run out of money. Personally, I thought it was just like it was just spawned in,
Right.
and like people just went there, put all their money in it, and then yeah,
That's good.
because the reputation is actually for the bank. Well, some banks the reputation is good, so most people trust them with their money. So they put most or probably 2/3 of their money into it.
That's exactly
So,
right.
And I thought I thought it would be really